have left off. Let me...
His 28-page outline, folks.
I really had nothing else to do in these last 2 weeks, so I rewatched the entire series and I wrote everything that happened.
This is Hermione Granger right here.
Okay, so pretty much, well, let's start with Daenerys, first of her name. Breaker of Chains, the Unburnt, Mother of Dragons, Queen of Marine, and Khaleesi of the... Yes, that was one of the things that we drink to in the show every time she lists her titles. All right, so, because this was one of my favorite season finales, because now Daenerys has her army. She has the 8,000 Unsullied, 2,000 Second Sons,
Partridge in a pear tree.
Yes. No, I'm not gonna. She has of all of the master ships. She has her 3 dragons who are pretty much fully grown now. The alliance of Tyrion Lannister, Lord Varys, the Greyjoys, Dorne, Highgarden. Yes.
And she still hasn't got where she's going.
But she's going now. Because, think about it. If she had left...
Yeah,
right.
So that's the first prediction, I guess, is where is she going?
Who thinks she's going to Dragonstone? Dragonstone?
Oh!
She said it. She said we're going to Dragonstone.
Where
Well, because Dragonstone is the place where she was born. Tactically speaking... I'm sorry, what? Oh, yeah.
Listen.
Okay. Tactically or strategically speaking, it makes sense because it's the place where Stannis set out to attack King's Landing. It's right there outside, near King's Landing. It's the most perfect place to attack King's Landing. Some people say she's going down to Dorne, but that doesn't make sense, though. Why go down to Dorne?
The reason that I would go to Dorne, if I were you, I would go... We're going to be trolling you all night. The reason that I would go to Dorne is to pick up the Dornish army.
But they're already there with her.
No, all you saw was Varys. You didn't see any of the Dorne people there. So Lady Olenna's Lady Olenna's army is still there. All the Tyrells are still there. Dorne is still there. If you're going to plan an attack on King's Landing, you're going to need to coordinate with your other people. And I feel like she... But...
Oh, and the 100,000 Dothraki, she has them too.
Right, oh, yeah, those just joined. But I think it's more poetic for her to land on Dragonstone because that's the place she left from.
Yes.
That's where she escaped from originally. Not just where she was born, but where she escaped across the narrow sea. So, I'm torn.
But I also kind of feel like she could definitely just, say, hey, meet me in Dragonstone.
Right?
Yes.
Or, she could attack King's Landing from sea, and then the Tyrells and Dornish army can attack from the land.
Here's what's interesting.
Go to Dorne, she's got to hook up with the sand snakes.
God.
I love the sand
Any
snakes.
sand snakes lovers in here? Anybody love
Okay, thank you.
You're all my people.
Good.
And I stirred the pot successfully.
You just like boobies, don't lie. Okay. I'm going to drink for that.
All right, so moving on, then...
Wait, I have one more thing to say about
yes.
that. But if we're talking about predictions of the attack on King's Landing, I do think it's interesting that she has with her the one person that has turned away an attack in Blackwater Bay.
Yeah, Tyrion Lannister withheld a siege by Stannis. Yes.
Well, I think one of the biggest things to say about Daenerys is that she's always getting help from other sources, and they're always usually empowering her. And I think that her biggest X factor, especially in the books, are her dragons. In the books, Drogon nearly leaves her for dead. She's shitting in a river and she's trying to make a hat and she can't even do it.
But he was wounded, though.
I don't think he just gave a damn about her. but then you have the one green dragon who lights whoever so not important on fire.
Quentin.
Yeah, whoever. Right? But he's lit up now, and he was supposed to be an ally. So really, these dragons kind of don't get about anybody. And so I'm wondering if they go to Westeros, who's getting charcoal?
Well, now, here's the thing. Actually, okay, now that you bring that up, I do have a theory about the dragons, was because we noticed, yes, at the start of, what is it, the 6th season? The start of the 5th season was when they started to get too big and, they're acting like angry teenagers, that they were snapping at her, they were going off, they were killing goats and children and stuff, and then she locked them up. But what happened was, it was in that scene where I don't know his name. I don't know if they ever gave his name. When she was in Marine, one of the freed slaves, murdered the second sons because he thought he was doing it for his Khaleesi, for the Queen of Meereen. But what she did was she executed him because to stop anyone else from trying to become a vigilante and take the law into their own hands. And you realize that was the moment where the citizens of Meereen started to turn against her. And, and she was trying to escape, and all of her guards had to guard her to get her back to the Great Pyramid. But then that very night, when she was at the top of the pyramid, after Drogon had disappeared and she had no idea where he was, he came back. She had that one moment on the top of the pyramid where he came back and he was there because it was like he sensed that she was in danger. And then once he saw that she was okay, he left.
I really think that what's going to happen is that we have this thing where Daenerys is always getting help from another source.
Yes.
I think what's going to happen is once she finally gets to her goal, Westeros, all these things are going to melt away. Dragons are going to rebel, they're going to be unreliable, Dothraki are going to freeze to death in the winter, all these other things are there. And now Daenerys, for once, is going to have to do something on her own that isn't fucking homeboy and
Okay, and all right, I do have a theory about the dragons, and we'll get into that later. Let's cover, talk about her going to King's Landing. So the last thing that happened in King's Landing was Cersei, who I think we are now going to name the Mad Queen.
The Mad Queen.
Burn them all. She murdered Loras, Marjorie, the High Sparrow, Kevin Lannister, her own uncle, all of the Faith Militant, all of the Tyrells, and
pretty much every person that was standing up against her was in that set.
Mm-hmm.
But she paid the ultimate price in the same way that Daenerys did. She lost her son for it. And the loss of the king is monumental. I mean, it's not a small thing. He just jumped out the window. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I mean, she was told that she would lose all her.
She was told. Actually, that's part of the predictions. We're talking about Cersei. I want to talk about that. I have a very strong feeling about what's going to happen with Cersei because she's already proven herself to be the Mad Queen. We know she's not going to survive long. Someone else is getting on that Iron Throne, and quickly. Yes. But I think that what's going to happen is, in the books, it is predicted that she's going to be killed by her younger brother, which she has always, her entire life, assumed that is Tyrion, which is why she hates him so much. But technically, Jaime Lannister is also her younger brother. She was born first. So I think what's going to happen is Dany is going to lay siege to King's Landing. She is going to react in the same way that the Mad King reacted, which is burn them all. And I think Jaime is going to do the exact same thing that he did the first time and kill her. And I think that he's going to go down with her because I think they're going to go out of this world the same way they came in together.
Kingslayer and Queens.
And Queens.
right,
Oh.
he killed the Mad King, and now he's going to kill the Mad Queen.
Kingslayer and slaying Queen.
Wrong show.
But then there was another fun. Okay, this is probably not going to happen, but Audie and I here just randomly thought about it as we were rewatching. Was that a lot of people were talking about Arya. Now that she's back in Westeros, the first thing she did was go straight to the twins, and she killed Walder Frey for killing her mother and her brother. Now, the only two other people on her... the other people on her list are Cersei, the Mountain...
Cersei is always the last on her list. She is number one.
Yeah, so there were a couple people that were predicting, next thing she's going to do is go down to King's Landing and kill Cersei. But then we had an interesting thought. Now that she can steal faces... What if she actually put on Jaime Lannister's face?
She kills Jaime Lannister because to take his face, she has to kill him.
And then kills Queen Cersei as Jaime Lannister.
The prophecy's fulfilled, but it's not Jaime that does it.
Yeah. Now, there's no reason to support that might actually happen, but that was a very interesting thought.
Just us nerding out.
Hey.
We've had so much fun talking with you people. We've been making up so much crap these last 2 days.
Right. But when Arya was at the twins, because remember she put on the other girl's face and she was actually serving drinks to Jaime and Bronn, and she saw Jaime there, but Jaime is not on her list, so she didn't kill him. However, if she knew that he was the one that pushed Bran out the window, he would be on her list, but she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, and Jaime's also, we can't forget, he's the one that coined the phrase, the Lannisters send their regards. He was heavily involved in the Red Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also part of...
Yes, but Arya doesn't know that.
So that's how, like, when he was, like, being released, it's color. It's like,
Yeah.
giving color for time.
Yeah.
So
So
he's also on the road to redemption, so you know.
yes.
Yeah, well, I don't think that Jaime and Cersei are going to survive the next season. Does anybody think Cersei's going to survive next season? Yes, sir?
Well, I mean, the next season is the last season, so...
Right, but we still have one more season before the last one. The next
Yes,
one's
we
gonna
have
be
2 more
7
short
and 1
seasons.
Yeah, they
long.
took the last season and they're doing the Lost thing. They're making 2
Exactly.
seasons out of it.
I'm sorry, you had a question, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what do you think Sansa is going to, now that Jon was proclaimed king in the North?
Well,
Let's move on to
that was
Jon and
that was a
Sansa.
very interesting thing. Okay, so
There's some squatting room over here if you guys want to squat over here. If you
Feel
don't
free,
mind.
or right there on the ground as well is fine.
Because I feel like she's still under Littlefinger.
exactly.
We've been debating this a lot.
Yes, Littlefinger, as we know, has been plotting all of this from the very beginning. He was the one who told Lysa Arryn to poison Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King, and set everything in motion. And Littlefinger has been plotting and manipulating everything since then. So then when he got Sansa out of King's Landing and arranged the marriage to Ramsay, he thought, and one of the last things he told her before he left for King's Landing was, oh, you should just control Ramsay, and then Stannis is going to come and rescue you. But all of that went to shit.
Yeah.
None of that panned out. And then now that he's come back, you know, he's saying his intent is to see himself on the Iron Throne with Sansa as the Wardeness of the North. But when Jon was named King of the North, again, his plan did not
And like Andrew was
succeed.
saying, this is probably one of the first few times that Littlefinger's plans have failed.
Not worked out.
This is what I feel, you know, as I think about Sansa, and I've been developing this my own theory, you know, maybe somebody else's too, but
Book spoilers.
you know, anyone who's read the books, one of our favorite characters I think we miss is Lady Stoneheart, you know, who I just coined today as you know,
What is it, Avenging
Lady Revenge
Stark?
Stark.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think what they've done with Sansa in the show is because Sansa in the books has never been more
Is
than
lame.
the my prince will come and save me girl. Every time you think she's about to learn the Game of Thrones, you're like, oh, she's going to turn a corner. She's going to turn a corner. She never turns the corner. Maybe she's still going to turn the corner in our mythical 2 books that are coming, but until then...
I'm not yet.
Until then, Sansa was given a new storyline. She was given someone else's storyline when she was married to Ramsay in the show. And I think that turned her into Lady Revenge Stark. And she's also become more political. It's like everything she should have learned in the books, this Sansa has learned. She knows how to go negotiate and get people to turn to their side. Where Jon is still kind of like, I just, you know, we know how to kill White Walkers. I don't know what I'm doing.
But you realize Sansa did not become that strong character of finally deciding, this is what we need to do. We need to retake Winterfell. We need to save our little brother, etc., etc. It wasn't until the moment that she rejoined up with Jon that she finally started kind of making that assertive decision of, well, oh, I can get the Knights of the Vale to come to our
because
aid.
that's when she survived her ordeal that made her into Lady Revenge Stark. And now she's in a position to say she can go get the people. I think she will be the diplomat that Jon needs to rally, whether they're rallying for the Wall or rallying against Cersei. So.
Yes.
And I think that Sansa played Littlefinger in that last part because the way she was looking at him was like, you thought you were going to play me. I'm going to prop my brother up here to do this thing, and I'll be Tyrion in the background. I'm going to be Littlefinger in the background.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
They would have been done.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never rule. Obviously, you could.
And when they had their little, powwow after the battle,
Right.
it was like, you didn't even it was like, basically I did what I had to do, you need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And she pretty much told him and said, no, I will never be yours, and you probably won't ever sit the Iron Throne.
Well, and the thing that this Sansa has is, even though you can never rule Littlefinger out, he always seems to have something up his sleeve. At least at this moment, at the end of season 6, Sansa's got his number.
And it's true. You really don't want to be his ally, but it's better to be his ally than his enemy.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I haven't read the entire book, but I have watched the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anyone else in the book that knows that Jon Snow is of a royal bloodline also, or is it just?
It was never confirmed in the book.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed yet in the books.
Yes.
You can go off of like what he saw, but I mean, there's technically no way to prove it at all.
Yeah, the only regular character who knows right now is Bran.
Mira's
father
was
is
there
supposed
in that
to.
movie. He's the guy who stabbed the Sword of the Morning in the back. He was the only other
Sir Arthur
person
Dane.
Sir Arthur Dane. He's the only one that survived that battle with Ned Stark. He would be the only other person that would know. But I think that Bran is going to deliver that information.
So do you have any theories behind it, where he could possibly go with that? Because I mean.
Well, he was at. I mean, the only thing he can do is just go to Jon and say, "Hey, I saw this vision."
BT dubs.
Yeah.
Well, but Bran knows he isn't seeing a vision. He's time traveling. I mean, he can't go there, but he can see there. Kind of, sorta, yeah.
Right. You need a Targaryen on dragon. Yes, ma'am.
That's true.
Do y'all think that Jon Snow and everybody is going to meet up with Daenerys before, and then they all going to get together and attack?
I mean, I'm still shipping a Johnny Danny situation.
It's so shit.
I'm cool with it.
Hey, the Targaryens wed brother to sister for years.
I mean,
give me 1 second. We got a few more. Okay, sir, right there.
Yeah, I'm kind of contrarian. I think she's going to stop with Valyria first because it has that whole messianic thing with the stone skins, equal and all that.
Oh.
Well, that goes back to actually Andrew has.
Very interesting.
If Daenerys stopped in Valyria with the Stonemen, he has a very interesting theory about the grayscale.
Okay, well, and it's a theory that the theory is only there's got to be more to it. So, if you fans of the show, because we're mostly about the show, Jorah Mormont has grayscale, and he's been sent off to find the cure. But
oh my gosh, I have some grayscale every day.
It's like stop scratching, you'll spread it.
There's some squatting room over here, guys. If you want to squat over here, some space here, over here. All right.
But in the books, that's a totally different character involved with a totally different storyline that doesn't exist in the show. So my theory is because they've taken that and given it to one of our show characters, is there's got to be something important, whether it's the cure or somehow adults surviving grayscale. There's something about grayscale that's still important that will come into play.
Because if their story was done, then they would just kill them off.
They'd either be dead or he would just be standing next to Daenerys while she does everything.
The one girl who survived, they burned up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because they went into this, I mean, with this whole scene between Shireen and Stannis was, he had this whole monologue about how you were a baby and you caught this disease, but we stopped it. We saved you from it. And it's like,
and in the exact same episode, not 15 minutes later, Jorah gets his grayscale. So it's in the exact same episode. They discuss I think he's next. And then
Technically, I'm not sure if this applies in the show, but isn't grayscale, doesn't it less affect children as opposed to...
I think it's like chicken pox.
Yeah, it's basically the chicken pox of Westeros.
It's pretty much, and I was saying it's because she caught it when she was a child, so that may have been one of the reasons they were able to stop it from
children
spreading.
Tend to survive and are scarred, whereas adults tend to go crazy
just go
or
crazy.
Whatever.
Yes, sir. You had a question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Gendry, when does he want to stop trolling?
We want to know that too.
Daenerys is going to pick him up on her way over.
That's okay. No, I really think that Gendry is important. I think that we've had him gone for so long, but we did the same thing with the Hound. The Hound was gone for a while, and yes, he's back. I'm so excited.
Gendry may just end up. He's so close to connect with Arya. There may be just even if it's not a shipping reunion, that he may just be part of her story
He is
still.
the last Baratheon, and I don't think that we're done with House Baratheon yet.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but did she show Stannis dying?
They did.
No.
No, that's
Well-
true. That is true. Stannis may not be dead.
But I don't
But
Brienne would not
kinda said
have
he
left
was.
him. She swung at his head with the Valyrian sword.
But that just but
Possibility, but it's slim.
there is but it's absolutely right. She could be lying for some reason. He could have. I don't know.
They just seem
there's
like
a door.
such
There's a
fitting-
door there.
They seem like such fitting final words for Stannis. Do your duty. Like
Do
that
your
just
duty.
is Stannis.
Where
in
he
a
knew
nutshell.
he murdered his brother. He
I'm
knew
sorry?
he deserved to die for it.
I killed your kid.
Yeah, I don't think she would lie. I don't think she'd lie.
Unless
so.
she had a very good reason.
But
I just feel like I would like to make the prediction now because we were talking about
Yeah.
Arya and her reunions. I'm going to predict just tears for every time Arya meets someone. I'm gonna be crying.
So many.
I will
For
stop
so
watching the show if
long.
she does not find her dire wolf. She is in the Riverlands where she abandoned her wolf, and in the books they constantly make reference to anyone in the Riverlands says they speak about a wolf pack that is attacking the Freys and the Lannister armies led by a monstrous she-wolf.
So close.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's the big prediction.
Yeah, all the Starks in the books have wolf dreams. They can connect to their wolves through their mind.
Yes, but Bran is the only one who knows
Who
that
can
he has.
control it.
But actually, in the books, though, okay, they didn't quite play it out like this. So when Arya goes blind, the last chapter in the book of Arya's is that while she's going through blind and she doesn't know what to do about it. What is it? There's a cat, because in the chapter they refer to her as the cat of the canals, and while she is laying there in bed, there is this cat with her, and that she actually somehow, without realizing she does it, she wargs into the cat, and that is the very last part that we see of her in the book, where she says suddenly she could see, but she was seeing through the cat. So actually her going blind in the books taught her how to warg into other animals.
So actually, since we're talking about Arya reunions and things like that,
But you're right before you say, just so you know that in the show, the only person who's ever come close to that is Bran. So
yeah, Bran's the only one that works in the show. The other thing that we were going to talk about is since Arya is possibly headed north, we're not sure if she's heading south to kill Cersei, but if she is heading north to meet up with her family, there is someone heading down south from Winterfell that has a previous existing relationship with
That
Arya.
is on her list.
That is
the red woman. She put the red woman on her list because she took Gendry.
Because she took Gendry. So I'm feeling like that's going to be the ending of Melisandre.
Yes.
That's going to be
Or maybe Melisandre says, "Oh, he's in a boat. Go
Yeah,
find
or she
him."
All I did was suck his blood through various parts of his body.
Family with a child in the corner over here.
I said blood.
Well, so I like to take a moment and go back to Bran because there's people asking about Bran before, in terms of what is going to happen with him next, and other discussions we've had today that also tie to the Horn of Winter, which may or may not be in the show. We don't really know. It's a book theme. We don't know if it's in the show. They may have replaced it with this whole concept of the Night King touching him, because, as you say, when the Night King touched him, that allowed him to come into underneath the tree.
The three-eyed raven's tree.
And so I think based on what we've talked about, when Bran goes past the wall, that rather than having some mythical horn come in that will bring down the wall, Bran being able to go past the wall, he will be in a race to beat the Night King, who will then have the power to come past the wall and break it himself.
So, quick question. I just have a question. What happens when the dead try to cross the wall?
Well, basically, they don't know. Nobody, as far as we know,
The wall's just
no
keeping
one
him
has
out.
tried it.
Couldn't Benjen just kind of be like, no, still can't. All right, never mind.
So basically, we'll get right to it. There's a lot of ancient magic that is built into the wall. So it's more than just ice. It's more than just stone. There's a lot of magical barriers built into it by the children of the forest.
Yes.
Which are the same type of magical barrier that was built around the weirwood tree where they were attacked. The first image of the Night's King when he attacks the weirwood tree is he puts his hand on the ground and he cracks the ice around them. That's the first image. So to me, that makes me think it's foreshadowing. And because he's touched Bran, he can now enter. If Bran crosses the wall, the magic is gone and the Night's King can follow. And I think he will be able to crack the wall into it.
I just want to kind of add in there, as far as that power of the Night Kings, apparently. So, the episode of Hard Home, I mean, as we know,
Love that episode.
I
love that episode.
It surprised everyone, even the book readers, because in the book, they kind of vaguely mention, something happened up at Hard Home, but I don't really know what. But
show of hands, Hard Home, one of your favorite battles. Love it.
Yeah, because it took everyone by surprise, but okay, and it was so amazing, so great. But then at the end, so they all get down to the water, and Jon and everyone else to get out on the boats. When the Night King walked out onto the dock, I really wanted him to see. I was like, why would you not could he not just stick his hand in the water, freeze the water, and then walk out across there and kill everyone in the boats? I couldn't understand why he just stopped right there.
It's so much scarier for him to just be like, "What up, buddy?"
It's salt water.
It was no, but that
because it's like, hey, look how many people you killed. Look, you just added to my army, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
so,
he's like,
I'm coming for you.
Yeah, he's got the long.
He even did this.
He's got the long game.
Yeah. Does somebody have a question?
Yes.
I think that's just plot armor. Jon has plot armor. So
Yes. Jon had more plot things to do.
That's
yeah.
true. That's definitely
I
plot
like
armor.
that term, plot armor. It protects
Yeah.
you because you have more plot.
Way to go, Brittany.
Gosh, Brittany.
Do you think the king, the Ice King, or
Night King?
when he touched Jon, there was this moment where he touched him like.
Did he touch Jon?
I think he did when they were battling.
Jon never came face to face with the Night's King. He fought a White Walker.
He fought a walker.
No, the White Walker, he didn't touch him. The only thing that happened with the White Walker is we discovered the Valyrian swords can defeat them. But the Night's King actually didn't come down from his perch until Jon was well into the boat.
Yes. But did you notice that, I know there is a distinction between the White Walkers and then the undead people.
The Whites.
The Whites, yes.
Yeah.
But when Jon swung his Valyrian sword at the Whites, nothing really happened.
Yeah, well, the Whites don't have the same magical properties. They're not cold.
I mean, you can eventually
They're just
hack them to
zombies.
death to a certain extent.
Are they like
I'm
the
sorry,
Putty
you got
Patrol in Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of Valyrian swords, do you think we're gonna figure out they're gonna actually tell you how they make them?
Actually,
Well,
in the book, they cover
they're
that.
forged from Dragonfire. Yes, it's what they say is that in Old Valyria, before the Doom of Valyria, that was when they forged all the Valyrian steel, and it was one of those ancient secrets that was lost with the Doom of Valyria, which is why now Valyrian swords are so rare and so precious, is because the art of making them has been lost.
How many can we account for right now?
So right now there is
Let's take a toll.
Yes,
Let's take a poll.
Jon Snow has
Jon
Longclaw. Samuel has his
family
ancestral one.
sword.
Brienne has Oathkeeper.
Widow's Wail is buried with Joffrey.
No, well, as there have been spoilers that Jaime is going to
take
have it.
So Jaime will go and get it.
So Jaime is going to have one. There was the dagger that...
That was the obsidian dagger.
No,
right?
no.
The dagger that they attacked Bran and Catelyn
Oh, that
with.
Valyrian steel? Okay.
Which we never quite found where that ended up. Littlefinger might have that
Littlefinger had
for
it
all we know.
last.
Probably.
Oh yeah, they gave it to someone to figure out.
So we have a good solid 4 swords and 1 dagger.
I gotta start watching the show again. My life is gone.
But we do have a whole island of Dragonglass where Dany is going to be, because one of the things that Stannis said was, "Oh yes, I know what obsidian is. It's all over Dragonstone."
See, and I think with the obsidian being the other key component to defeating White Walkers, I think that will be Dany's power. Yeah. Though I still say
all of the unsullied little obsidian spears
and again,
on their
kind of pulling this from the books. At the end of the last book, Samwell had made it to Old Town and told the Citadel about everything. and they were going to send a team to go track Dany down. Like in the books, all these people are going for Dany. But what he hasn't dealt with is that sword, which he now has in the show. So I think it's very possible that Samwell, as he comes back around, he's going to run into Dany, and so she might get a sword that way because he has the sword, rather than, and maybe the army will get the dragon. They'll mine the dragon stone.
So then, technically, you could somehow get the Valyrian knife back into Tyrion's hand. You could get Heartsbane into Dany's hand. You have Longclaw in Jon's hand. Then you've got 3 Valyrian swords with 3 dragons.
But do you really need a Valyrian sword if you're riding on top of a dragon?
Yeah. We don't know what dragon fire will do to these suckers.
Discuss our
the dragon. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Does anyone feel like that she's just really losing her control over them?
I think she's
not necessarily. I think she's finally gaining control over them.
She's getting it back. Well, I think Mark had a good point. It's like they went through a petulant teenager stage, and now they've gone past that.
Now, finally, she is connecting with them. Like, there's a moment when they were riding with the Dothraki back to Meereen, and she was just sitting there. Actually, it was the moment that Dario said to her, "You weren't meant to sit on a throne. You are a conqueror." And the moment he said conqueror, she just went...
And she also...
And then rode around the bend, and then suddenly her dragon came down.
She also had no problem at the end of the last season of just sending them off to burn in one boat.
I think something very fundamental changed when Dany got onto Drogon. Because they talk about in the book how one dragon has one rider and the 2 bond, and no other person will be able to get on that dragon.
It's like an Avatar when they take their little tail and plug it in to the other.
Exactly.
But did the main character go on the second thing?
Yes, he did the tour.
He cheated.
But I think that when she finally got onto Drogon, that bonded them in such a way, and Drogon is the biggest. He is the leader of the dragons.
And named after her.
After her
Khal Drogo.
the great love of her life. So I think that something fundamental changed in her relationship with the dragons in that moment. So I do think she has gained more control over them.
Question here.
What do you think about the theory that Tyrion might be
We love it.
It has long been a theory that Tyrion is a Targaryen. There's been nothing to prove it yet, but in this book here, I'm going to show you this book because I love this book.
We get no proceeds from the sales of this book.
Right. If you are a fan of Game of Thrones, this is called The World of Ice and Fire. Find it at your bookstore, Barnes & Nobles. It is fully illustrated, and it covers the entire history of Westeros from the Age of Heroes to the Dawn Age to the Long Night to Doom of Valyria and everything. And it just covers everything that happened in Westeros before the story begins. But anyway, so in this book, it talks about the Mad King, Aerys II, when Tywin Lannister was his hand of the king, and they went and spent the better part of a year over in Casterly Rock, and the Mad King liked to have his way with the pretty ladies of the court, and including supposedly Tywin's wife, Joanna.
And they were together for a period of time at Casterly Rock during the time that Tyrion was conceived. They specifically mentioned that. And then, 1 second, we'll be right back to you. And but there's other things. So Tyrion is born 9 months later. That's a big hint. Immediately after that trip, the relationship between Tywin and Aerys disintegrates completely, and to the point where Tywin is fired as Hand of the King, and he goes away. And then eventually he comes back, right? Eventually they become friends again. But they eventually friends. He's a hand again. But right.
Slaughters the entire city.
Right. And the other thing is Tyrion's looks in the book are very different from Tyrion's looks in the show. Tyrion in the book has one green eye like all Lannisters and one purple eye like all Targaryens. He has
yes, he had a nose to begin with.
And he has streaks of silver hair on his head. So I feel like they're kind of handing it to us. Plus, my big theory, this was like a big aha moment for the other panel, was if you think about it that way, if you agree to Jon, Dany, and Tyrion, then all three killed their mothers during childbirth. Because Tyrion's mom, we know, died in childbirth. Dany's mom died the night that she gave birth to her, and we saw what happened with Lyanna. So I feel like that's a pretty strong indication.
And also, just real quick, that's
I've always wanted a dragon since I was
Yes.
yeah, and that scene with him and the dragons, where like he's like freaking out, and then he's kind of nervously taking it off, and then the other dragon's just like, take my collar off.
Well, no, and then someone told us that the dragon laughed.
Yeah, someone told us last night.
Yeah,
the
someone,
dragon
you guys
actually
watched the
laughed.
Laughing Dragons.
So instead of assuming Jon is Rhaegar's son, isn't it plausible that he's the Mad King's son?
The reason I wouldn't go there is because there's too much that's been made out of Lyanna and Rhaegar's
and in terms of storytelling, he's got to be Rhaegar and Lyanna's son. I mean, in terms of storytelling, because But what I think will be interesting, because I've been playing this concept in terms of Tyrion being a secret Targaryen, is the idea is that it's not the three heads of the dragon. If we end up with three heads of the dragon, as is, was the first, when they took over Westeros, they had three heads of the dragon. You have two powers coming together. Instead of a third power coming in, you have someone who has to step out of the shadow of Daenerys and step up and be his own, which I think is, in terms of like becoming a hero arc and becoming a hero, is an interesting concept.
But I do think it's too hopeful to assume Tyrion's going to survive. It's my prediction he's not going to survive.
Okay, so this is my grand prediction, and I've been.
I'm going to have a riot in here.
Tyrion's going to live! Call the showrunners.
Yes. Of
Marcus?
Valyria.
Cliff Notes version, don't roast out your
20 minutes left.
Yeah. Yes, I know. No, pretty much, Valyria, it was kind of based, George Martin kind of based it off of, like, the Rome of the world. They were this far, far advanced civilization that had, like, they came up with the making of Valyrian steel, and they all had dragons. The Targaryens were actually not the greatest or most powerful or the greatest of the families in Valyria. But it's just, they were just so far advanced in technology, but then the Doom came, which no one really even knows what caused the Doom. It was just pretty much just one day out of the blue, the earth just broke apart and volcanoes just rose out of the ground. Fire rained from the sky and killed all of these dragons. And the only reason that the Targaryens survived was because it was one girl of the Targaryen family who she had a dream that prophesied this great doom of the city.
Cassandra.
And
so her and her family and their dragons, was it just the three dragons?
Mm-hmm.
Then
It was a brother and two sisters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they fled Valyria only moments before the Doom happened, so that is why those were the only three dragons that survived, and Aegon and his family, and then they left to go conquer Westeros. But
Comment?
yes.
I just want to say they actually left with 5 dragons, and Valerian the Black Dread was the youngest, and
Ah.
I think he was, I think Valerian was the father of Vagar and Meraxes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Someone has the
I didn't know
book.
who was the 5.
Yes.
That's interesting. Thank you.
So we talked about this being predictions. I want to put one prediction out there while I can. And well, I'm going to go out on a limb here because I've been thinking about it a lot this weekend and over the past months in terms of other people's theories, reading online and whatnot. In 2 years of Comicpalooza, we can come back and see if I'm right.
Okay.
I think one of the visions that Daenerys sees in the House of the Undying in the book, I don't think we see it in the show, is Rhaegar at the birth of a child that talks about the prince that was promised, the son of ice and fire. And so I say that Jon is the son of ice and fire because he's a child of Stark and child of Targaryen. And so that Jon, will be the last, in terms of our major players, Jon will be the last man standing at the end of the season. At the end of the series, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
I'm just gonna put that out there.
he's died once, and
Well, so did Glenn.
we're not going.
All right, so let's real quick. Commercial, just a real quick commercial break.
Okay.
There is an app called Comicpalooza 2017 on your app on your phone. So we would really appreciate. We're not done. We're not done at all. But we would appreciate it if you would go on there and rate us on there.
Only if you have an iPhone. They don't like
Yeah,
it.
rating is only on the iPhone apparently.
So
Apparently not.
Be nice if, so give us a rating on there. Let Comicpalooza know how we're doing. We really enjoy you being here. We also have a fan table downstairs. We'll be here tomorrow at 3752.
We're gonna have another.
If you give us lots of stars in our rating, then next year we will have a much bigger room, and you all can have chairs.
Yeah, all can have seats.
All right, and a commercial break. Yes.
So speaking of John being one of the final players, what are you guys' thoughts on the rumor, the theory that John is going to have to end up killing Danny, just like Azor Ahai did his wife forged the sword library?
Oh.
Actually, I haven't
it.
heard that theory about John having to kill Danny.
Azor Ahai forged Lightbringer originally.
That's right.
He forged it normally like
Into
normal
her
sword
heart.
might grow, and then he plunged it into the heart of the lion.
Oh, that's
So
right.
He plunged it into his wife's heart, and it came out of her body.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I think
Oh, gosh.
shouldn't be read into.
I am kind of hoping maybe it'll be Sansa instead of Danny. Because I'm hoping Sansa does not survive this mess. Yes, Brittany.
Have you guys talked about the possibility that Brienne might be Azor Ahai?
Why Brienne? Why do you think that?
No, I just think she has a sword.
She does have a Valyrian sword.
I don't think she's the prince that was promised. Because that's what Azor Ahai is.
Unless her and Tormund Giantsbane made
Yes,
a nice
who's
big
shipping it?
baby.
Who's shipping that?
Yes.
Who's shipping it?
I vote for that relationship.
I think that the promise that was made to Lyanna by Ned proves that Jon is the prince that was promised. I think that he is, and there's also something about him being born under a bloody star in the books.
Yes.
And one of the first images they show you in the Tower of Joy scene is Ned rests his sword on the bed. Beneath it is a bloody rag. On the hilt of the sword is a star. So
It's the star of the morning, right?
Yeah, because it's the
Donald.
The very first thing in the very first book is there's a red comet that appears in the sky.
Yes.
Oh, the comet that everybody thinks means is.
Oh, yeah,
that they're gonna be king.
I'm going to win. The comet means
it's not
I'm going to
No,
win.
we had to drink every time someone went, oh, that comet signifies my coming to the throne. Oh, that comet is
You're
for
guilty
me.
of it too, ma'am. So.
Yes.
How we doing on?
You have like 15 minutes.
They finally put to bed, of course, who John's parents was. We had all figured that out. But how Lyanna wasn't kidnapped and raped or whatever. She ran off.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not having nothing to do with that. You can't fix it.
And
She ran off.
That was a big
Well,
deal.
one of the hints in the story, at least in the books, I don't know about the show, is the fact that like they talk about the joust where Rhaegar honors her, and it's just like how beautiful she is, how beautiful she is.
It-
and like, oh, these two are
in
hooking up.
this last season, the day after this episode premiered, the internet was buzzing with one little tiny look from Littlefinger. When Sansa and Littlefinger were down in the crypts and they were standing by Lyanna's grave, and Sansa went, oh, and then, yes, Rhaegar kidnapped and raped her and murdered her. And then Littlefinger just kind of went. The entire internet was buzzing the next day.
First season, when Robert's going on and on about everything that Rhaegar did, Ned just kind of looks at him and never disagrees, never agrees. But he
Yes. And it was, I'm sorry, and it was interesting rewatching the entire series. Well, especially that first season, just everything that Ned does.
Yeah.
Now that you know for certain that Jon was Lyanna's son.
The conversation they
always
have in
so
the field.
calculated. You are my blood. You are my blood. Like
He never says you are my son.
Yeah.
He says, you may not have my name, but you are my blood. And every decision he made with Robert, like when Robert wanted Daenerys to, I keep pointing at you every time I say Daenerys. I mean, every time that Robert wanted Daenerys assassinated, Ned kept saying, no, we can't do it. It wasn't just because, like, well, we don't need to kill a little girl. It's like, he was thinking of Jon. And it's so interesting to go back and rewatch Sean Bean's performance.
even though him and Kat fell in love and had to, he was a secret keeper. And I want to say, people can't keep secrets like that.
reason he kept him, the reason that he kept him hidden for so many years, and first of all, I don't think that he wanted anybody else to carry the burden of the secret. His only defining characteristic is his honor. That is the most important thing to him in the world. And he had to tell this lie, which was heavy on his soul.
Which is ironic because it goes against his honor.
But I don't think that, first of all, he wanted Catelyn to carry that burden. And second of all, the most important reason being that Robert was killing every Targaryen in sight. Anywhere there was a Targaryen, he was going to murder him.
And Lyanna told him. She was, you can't tell him or he'll kill. Robert
Promise
will
me,
kill him
Ned.
if he
Promise
knows.
me, Ned.
Yeah, well, that one should come to me. But see, this ties into my theory that in terms of conflating the story from books to television, that Sansa is taking on aspects of Lady Stoneheart's story, is because in the books, and well, even in the show too, Catelyn is all like, Jon Snow, I hate him, get him out, don't be in Bran's room, you can't talk to him. That kind of hate, in terms of literary terms, usually gets a turn. Like if it's unfounded, if it's not warranted, usually gets a turnaround. And I think in the books we could possibly see Lady Stoneheart realize who Jon is, what he was, and what he's been doing, and kind of come around
and at least apologize. Can we get an
apologize
from her?
to him for all the hell she's put him through. But because we won't have that in the show. That's why I think she could be the one that brings the armies that saved Jon at the Battle of the Bastards. But they gave it to Sansa, and so Sansa is taking on her revenge story.
You're right, too.
Ned had lost his father, his brother, and his sisters dying in childhood. I mean, he was not going to give up another relative.
Yes.
Now, for Kat, what always killed her was that Jon got to the house first before got to Winterfell, before her and what's the oldest son's name?
Rob.
Before her and Rob got there.
Oh, yeah.
Which it was, and that's why even in the first season, Robert was like, she must have been some woman to make you do that, because even when we were out warring, he was never against her marriage vow. So to me, that might have told you something, but she was like, this.
Well, but I think it's easy for them to believe because don't forget, Catelyn wasn't supposed to marry Ned Stark.
Yeah.
So their marriage wasn't based on love; it was based on alliance. I mean, it grew. But it was based on alliance.
Yes.
So, I know that there's a couple of facts of things that we do know how this book might end. We know that there's not going to be some huge climactic battle of good versus evil. George has confirmed that. The showrunners have said that there's going to be a coalescing of characters now, so Essos is out of the picture for the most part, and we're going to have characters starting to meet up. So they're not going to be so distant. George has also said that there's going to be a bittersweet ending. He said that this won't be good triumphing over evil kind of thing. And I'm curious, what do you guys think that bittersweet
Let's go through and we can all tell
we
our
have 7 minutes.
Yeah, in 7 minutes
All right.
we can each tell kind of what we feel the end game is going to be.
Well, and I think that really comes down to the fact that some of our favorite characters are not going to make it. That Daenerys or Jon. I mean, I'm thinking Jon will be the sole survivor in terms of our major characters. In the big battle, whether Jon and Daenerys get together, defeat Cersei, then go to battle the Wall, and then Daenerys loses that battle, but Jon ultimately overcomes. I mean, obviously. I mean, I think if it ends with the Wall coming down and the Night King taking over, that will just be sad. So our favorite characters are going to make it, and that bittersweet, which has been coming through the entire series as we lose character from character. Daenerys has been built up as like the major, she's almost been built up as like she will be the ultimate thing, and I think she will.
Maybe she will save the realm, but she won't necessarily rule the realm. Well, now that you say, this is what George has said about it, I would say I'm gonna go back to that one line that Arya said to Lady Crane. Lady Crane asked her, where are you going to go? And she said, well, Essos is east, Westeros is west. What's west of Westeros? So as far as we know, the dead army may overtake all of Westeros, but then those that survive will say, let's just get on the ships and we're going to sail west.
And then they don't know, and it'll be the unknown.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and I think that the only person that will survive is the person who can't do anything about it but watch, and that's Bran. He just watches the whole thing happen. And he just has
That's
to,
interesting.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Everyone's gonna die.
I'm really not great at predictions because I am definitely just a consumer and I just watch it and they're all making predictions and I'm just losing my mind. And so again, it's just like I am just stressing out right now. That's my prediction. It's just like I am going to cry. Like it's gonna be.
There will
bad.
be lots of
People
tears.
are gonna die and I'm gonna be upset. So that's my prediction. That's gonna
But
be
I
bad.
do.
It's gonna be
It's
bad.
interesting, kind of combining what you just
Thank you,
said
guys.
with the line that he's talked about. Arya could also be ultimate survivor. She's never been a.
Oh, please let Arya be the only
she's never been in a
survivor.
position
I
of
will support
power.
that ending.
She's always been doing her thing, and so once we come to the end of the game, and she's like, "There's nothing to do but run," and she goes west. Maybe with Bran, but like she's like, "Nope, cut and run. We're out."
Okay, so I have two theories. My first theory is there's only one way to end the Game of Thrones, and that is with the destruction of the throne. I don't think that the Iron Throne is going to survive these books. I think it will either be melted down or they're going to look for Valyrian swords in there. Somebody was having that theory. I think that the Iron Throne is going to be destroyed because that's the only way to put an ending to a story that is so complicated with so many characters that doesn't have an ending. You just end this part of it. And the other theory that I have is one I shared with them. I think that all of these battles are going to happen. Somebody's going to come out the winner, whether it's Jon or Dany or the Night's King, whoever it is. Somebody's going to wind up, and then they're all going to be sitting on their throne happy, and they're going to get a knock on the door. And it's going to be, hello, we're the Iron Bank, and we're here to collect. That's my prediction because death and taxes.
Well, and I find it interesting when you mentioned that the Iron Throne has to go down. That the television series, the first book, is the Game of Thrones, plural. And so we have seen one throne after another be destroyed.
There's
the
the
Iron
Sea
Islands
Stone
is
chair.
gone. We have the throne in the north still
Well,
because
and
John's
the
taken
preview
over
is
it.
literally 3 people walking to their respective
Yeah.
thrones.
So we still have various thrones that are, some thrones are gone, some thrones are still there. So,
But the Iron Throne is the Iron
One
Throne.
of the things you can say is each one of these series of gods is being destroyed. Basically, with the Seth, the Sparrow, and all
Mhm.
that.
Oh, that's
I think
interesting.
that Sincere, that was the first one to go. Maybe that might be the 7 gods. The next one might be the ground. It might end up with the red god basically resurrects them.
Well, you still got the Children of the Forest, too, and all that, the old gods. Yeah, all we've got
Yeah,
is...
are-
no, the
are there
children
any
are
other
gone. I
ones?
think they're all dead.
That seemed to be the last
I think she was the
ones.
last one.
Unless
So,
one's hiding.
maybe.
It was
You
fun.
wish.
All right. So, all right, we have
I
just
think
a
he's
few.
good.
We have 3 minutes left. Are there anyone
Any
else
last
have
questions?
comments or
Word
questions?
remarks.
This is not really dealing with the end, but I liked the character at the beginning that was Arya's sword instructor.
Sirio Farrell.
I just wanted to know if maybe there was some way.
Because we didn't see him.
I'm
die
with you.
either.
I'm with you.
We never
Yes, we didn't see him.
I was
die
hoping
either.
I was so hoping that when she got to Bravos that Jack and Hagar would take off his face and be like, "Hello, I'm Sirio."
Oh, my sweet summer child.
But
Watching the wrong show.
much in the vein of Stannis, we did not see him die.
Yeah.
So he
This
could
guy's
actually.
holding out hope. What show are you watching?
That, like, he had a wooden sword, and usually they're very good on sound effects. And if he would
Yeah, they
block,
said
he would
something.
drop the wooden clank, and they're very specific about it because they
Somebody
have the same thing
said
with
that.
The death of Joffrey. It's like if you listen real close, you hear sound effects like a bloop and like a little chink for the poison scene.
Of the poison
so,
sound,
no
yeah.
wooden clank.
Yes, in the back. We'll get right to you, sir.
What do you? This is kind of off show, but what do you think the odds are that George ever actually finishes the series?
50-50. I think it's an even 50-50.
Man, just hire a ghostwriter and let's get this thing done. Yes, and we'll get right to you.
Now, granted, we didn't ever see Sirio Farrell die, but we did see his opponent survive 2 weeks ago by Arya.
That's true.
Yes.
Marin Trant was still
Which,
alive.
by the way, interesting fact, Marin Trant's death scene was apparently the most expensive death scene in the whole show.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because of his eyes. Because they
Yes.
couldn't cut out. Anyway.
What about the rumors and the news that HBO is working with George Martin
To do like 4, other
Robert's
stories.
Rebellion. Who doesn't want to
Yes.
see Robert's Rebellion?
No, they are. What they're doing is actually there are many writers that are coming forward that are presenting ideas to HBO, and right now they're going through all of these different writers and all these different ideas. So spin-off series are definitely coming, and we are at time.
We're at time. Thank you so much,
Thank you
guys.
so
We have
much.
Thanks,
fun.
guys.
Thanks for coming. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for coming in here. Like, sorry.
Come visit us at our fan table.
I like
Yes.
that she's still sitting on the throne, though.
Yes. If you would like to watch us on YouTube, please come in, grab a flyer. We're not promoting whatever.
Season. I take 10 shots for the wall not falling down on the finale.
Whose beer is that?
Yes.
Yes, 10
And we do
shots.
have 2 more panels tomorrow for Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. If you're here tomorrow, come see us.
Zach, will you grab the camera? Will you grab the camera?
Actually, we have 3752.
Let me just get this out.